Hiya, all you beautiful internet people, and welcome back to the Nicholas Cicada Review. I was gonna shoot this review with the camera mounted on top of one of the boxes of mailing equipment labeled cremated remains I got from a fan, but it turns out they're too thin for a camera to stand on. I was gonna do that just for fun, because I was told by someone, not a legal expert, but by someone that I can't sue anyone for sending me those because they're just a prank item. It doesn't mean anyone wants me dead or anything. So instead I'm using someone's random package this week. I don't mind, but I'm using it to put the tripod on because, anywho, a random item to put the camera on every week. Let's talk about the first interracial kiss on TV, because why not, you know? Okay, so, you got, and again, this video is unedited, because I can't edit videos during quarantine. Don't worry, pretty soon, I'll buy a Windows, and then I can edit in a title screen and some music and make my reviews more fun and interesting. But until then, you'll have to bear with just me talking. It's not that bad, is it? I mean, you listen to podcasts all day and shit. And speaking of podcasts, I might have been on a podcast recently, but I'm filming this in the past before I was on the podcast, so I don't know if I'll be on the podcast yet. I think I will. It's called The Beige and the Bold, and I'll be on the episode Journey's End, or I will have been by the time this is published. It's confusing. It's time travel. Deal with it. Okay, so the point being, The Beige and the Bold is also a Star Trek podcast. I was on it, or I will be on it, because I'm filming this on May 21st. The podcast isn't until May 23rd, and I'm posting this sometime in June or July or something. Whatever. Anywho, it's a Star Trek podcast. Star Trek, as you all know, is given, oh wow, it's the episode where Kirk and Uhura kiss, right? But here's the thing, right? Okay, so there's a stereotype given that Kirk is a very lusty captain, which he is. He's obviously straight. But with members of his crew, he's very professional. He doesn't go around smooching his crew all day. If there's an alien and she's hot and they want to do it, they do it. But he doesn't like smooch Yeoman Rand or anything, because that's not professional. And Kirk is decent and wholesome, and he's an okay guy, you know, and he certainly doesn't ever rape anyone. There's the episode with Evil Kirk, but, you know, he's Evil Kirk. Well, there's two episodes with Evil Kirk. There's Enemy Within, and there's Mirror Mirror. But my point being, Kirk is not quite as bad as everyone will stereotype and say he is. He doesn't smooch Uhura or Nurse Chapel all the time. And furthermore, like, think about the context of this episode. Everyone talks like this episode where Kirk and Uhura smooch is like, you know, just the most revolutionary, groundbreaking idea. And here's the thing. It's basically a rape scene. And I don't mean Kirk is raping Uhura, because of course he's not, but there's these aliens, and they're mind control aliens, and basically they force Kirk and Uhura on each other, and neither of them wants the smooch. So why celebrate that? I mean, it's a very sad scene, and it's presented as a very sad scene. And Uhura doesn't want to smooch Kirk. Kirk doesn't want to smooch Uhura. You know, why is that looked on like, wow, it's a mind blowing moment. Yeah, it's mind blowing that anyone thinks that's something worth like admiring or anything. Like it's not good, because it's presented as like this horrible occurrence, and like not only are Kirk and her forced to kiss, but Nurse Chaplin and Spock are forced to kiss, and it's incredibly demeaning for all four of them, because none of them want to smooch. Okay, so what's actually the first television kiss? To answer that, we gotta go to we gotta look at the other Star Treks, and then we gotta look before Star Trek, because that's important. Before and after, look at the context. Okay, so Kirk, as I said, is a very straight captain, and he has a lot. He falls in love a lot with a lot of alien women. He does it. Because he's kind of young. Then you got Captain Picard. He's middle aged. He doesn't have it so much. He's kind of more restrained, and he just kind of is like, eh. And he has his morning tea with Dr. Crusher, but, presumably it's a slight romance, but nothing more, Captain Picard obviously does not have much interest in making out, which, is to contrast with Kirk. Then you got Captain Sisko on Deep Space Nine. He's a bachelor, That's an interesting twist, kind of a single captain who doesn't ever really have sex much with anyone. And then you got Captain Janeway on Voyager, and her deal is she's basically just like Kirk. She has it with any male alien she can find, and that's fine. It's a nice gender reversal. She if there's a hot alien guy, she'll do it. So that's pretty much how the captains are. And then I assume Captain Archer is never touched any women in his life, because he's too weak and pathetic to even get near one of them. I just make fun of Captain Archer because he sucks, and the Enterprise sucks. It's just garbage. Anyway, so with Captain Kirk, there is a lot, of wholesome scenes with him. Now, obviously, Gene Roddenberry was confused about gender, still is. There's the last episode with Janice Lester where it's, I think that's like one of the worst episodes to ever end a series on. Holy shit, Turnabout Intruder's a mess. Like, you could have ended the series off in such a cooler way than just with this episode that reveals that there can't be female captains in the 22nd century. There can be female captains now, but there can't be in the frickin' 21st, 23rd century, or whenever Star Trek is. That's crazy, And frickin' Janice Lester is completely justified in what she does, because she's the victim of injustice, She's the victim of this sexist-ass Starfleet that doesn't allow women to be captains. And luckily that mistake is rectified with Captain Janeway, who's, a perfectly competent captain. Except in the episode where she's like, that Borg ship over there, let's go mine it. It's like Fort Knox. And I think that's because she drinks a lot of coffee. But, at least at that point, captains are allowed to serve as captains are allowed to be female. And again, I wouldn't say a man captain couldn't make that decision if they thought that Borg technology was valuable or something, but it's a really bad decision. Of course, it goes horribly awry, as it would, and Seven of Nine is captured and all that. I've been watching, the past year is the first time I've seen Deep Space Nine or Voyager. I'm amazed by them. They're way better than I thought they'd be. And Enterprise is just as bad as I thought it'd be. So, wow. Talk about fulfilling my expectations. Actually, I thought Deep Space Nine and Voyager would be bad for a while, but they're actually competent. Anyway, uh, because the only Star Treks I was exposed to as a youngster were the original series, The Next Generation. Back to the topic at hand. There's a very wholesome scene in the original Star Trek, and Gene Roddenberry is very confused about gender, because it's presented as, oh, Janice Lester hates being a woman. I don't think Janice Lester hates being a woman. I just think Janice Lester wants to be a captain, and she has the right to be a captain. But then you got, like her. Her is a nice character. A very strong female character, And she's black, which, of course, is one of, the most progressive things on TV ever. You got Sulu. You also got, in the episode of The Man, in the episode with Nancy Crater, or her is shown having a little romance with this big, huge black guy, and he's he's actually just Nancy Crater in disguise. Nancy Crater is an octopus beast, but, at least she's shown that, she's having a nice, pleasant little romance. And she plays the harp and everything, and, she's a very progressive character. You also got Dr. Mwamba, the expert on Vulcan physiology, and you got the designer of the ultimate computer. Both of those are incredibly, they're both black characters, and it's very progressive for the time. And seriously, that's admirable for Star Trek to do. So then you got, you got, which is it? You also got the episode where with the two the guys, they're like black on one side and white on the other, and one species it's black on the left, white on the right, and the other species it's white on the left and black on the right. I don't know, but that one's pretty good too, and it's basically the Sneetches. Anyway, the point being, what is the first interracial kiss? Because what I mean by that is, what's the first consensual interracial TV kiss? There has to be one before Star Trek, right? Or after Star Trek. And I've looked it up, because of course I have. And it doesn't say what's the second interracial TV kiss, but it actually points out that there are quite a few shows that did before Star Trek. I think 3, maybe even 5. I would like to know what the first interracial kiss after Star Trek is, though. If anyone's willing to tell me in the comments, if you know, just go down in the comments. I couldn't figure it out, so let's have some interactivity. But anyway, Gene Roddenberry is obviously a little sexually confused. But, he says he's a feminist, and a lot of the female characters, such as Andrea, the female android, in the Dr. Corby episode, are pretty skimpily dressed. But, I guess one thing to say is that in The Cage and Where No Man Has Gone Before, the first 2 episodes, the female characters wear pants, which is, that's something. I guess, and then in Next Generation, there's not any skirts either, so I guess it just kind of switched from pants to skirts to pants. I don't know. But yeah, that's something to note. Barely anyone brings up that in The Cage and the first episode with Kirk, both the female characters, or all the female characters wear pants. But anywho, I digress. The point being, uh, there's a very wholesome speech in, what is it, Charlie X, where Kirk says to Charlie X, who's being very aggressive towards Yeoman Rand and being a nuisance, and Yeoman Rand has said, no thanks. He says, there are a million things you can have in this world, Charlie, and there are a million things you can't have. And I think that's a good demonstration of Kirk. He's an upstanding and wholesome and decent guy. And he says, don't rape women. And that's a good message. It's a good, positive message. So, obviously, he has values, which is important for a Starfleet captain. And you can root for him, because, he doesn't go around smooching Yeoman Rand and her all day, because it's not professional. And he doesn't burst in a sickbay and start smooching Nurse Chapel. He's not a hideous rapist. He's just straight. He's obviously not gay, but, he's not like a nymphomaniac or something. Okay, so then you get to the episode of Plato's Stepchildren, in which the mind control race forces Spock and Kirk to do these incredibly demeaning things, like Kirk becomes a horse, and they do the Tweedledum song, and they're really mean to this poor little dwarf who lives amongst them. It's very sad. His name is Alexander. They torture him. They treat him like shit. And, they're obviously a very horrible and mean-spirited alien race. It deserves to get their asses kicked, right? Because they misuse their psychic powers, their telekinesis. So, then they beam down at her and Chapel, and Chapel even says to Spock, I always wish I could have kissed you, but now that I'm kissing you, I don't want to. Yeah, sure she doesn't. She's being forced to do it, and the same goes for her and Kirk. They don't want to smooch. Why are they being forced to smooch, Now, the episode actually handles it very well. It presents it as, this is wrong. You don't beam 4 random people down and force them to kiss each other if they don't want to, with your telekinetic powers. That's a good moral, right? Apparently not, because everyone misconstrues this scene and says, oh, mental rape? That's the most progressive thing ever, because it's Kirk, and he's smooching Uhura. Kirk and Uhura never had a thing going in the series. And that's because Kirk's not a rapist. I think that's kind of important to point out. So, is there a better interracial kiss to look at? Is there one that actually, is actually kind of nice and wholesome instead of being like disgusting and sad? And like I said, the episode handles it correctly. It doesn't present it as like something fun that they're enjoying, because they're not. Okay, so what's the actual first episode? The British, of course, they beat us to it. Because there's some soap operas with a black guy smooching it's a white guy smooching a black lady. Or, I think there's like at least 2 British shows implicated as the first interracial kiss. I'm just getting this from Wikipedia, and I looked at it, 20 minutes ago. It's easy to forget because I'm tired and it's abnormally early. It's not as early as when I filmed the Hogan's Heroes review, but it's very early morning. The sun is peeking through, but, make some tea or something. All we have is decaf. Okay, the answer to which is the first interracial kiss. Okay, so the British, of course, as with many things they're prone to do, will say, we pushed this genre, we did it first, end of story, right? Because, oh yeah, the British are so much more progressive, they're totally not a figurehead monarchy, and they totally didn't F up their economy and Brexit and all that, and ruin their own political structure, and elect Boris Johnson. It's totally not like they've, basically ruined TV by having this weird government-sponsored channel that broadcasts everything, I mean, it's not as if their entire society is built on lies and exaggeration and hyperbole, and they're really just a tiny little island floating in the North Atlantic Ocean without much power at all, right? Well, that's not true, because Britain's great and wonderful and has no problems at all. But do they have the first interracial smooch on TV? According to me, at least, the answer would be no. Because there's a little show called I Love Lucy, and that's cited by Wikipedia as the first example which anyone has ever given to what's a first interracial smooch on TV. Wherein Lucille Ball smooches Desi Arnaz. The question is Desi Arnaz Hispanic? The answer is, yeah, he is. And I Love Lucy is a great show, and very groundbreaking still. And maybe not as much as Star Trek, but it's a good show, and, it's pretty good, and not racist, and furthermore, when Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz smooch, it's consensual, which is kind of important. So, sorry, Star Trek, is Desi Arnaz white? No. He's Hispanic, actually. Obviously. And they do smooch. And it's a very wholesome show. One of the best sitcoms of all time. And, sorry, Star Trek. Looks like you're not the first to have an interracial smooch. Even if you did, even if I Love Lucy doesn't count for some reason, there's still 2 British shows that did it before you, and I think I Love Lucy does count, and America did it first. But there's not any such thing as objective facts, so I guess we'll just never know. The other question is, was there an interracial kiss in Space Seed or Mirror Mirror? Yeah, I guess so. I guess Khan is Hispanic, even though he's presented as Asian. Gosh, he's a confusing character. Ricardo Montalban is Hispanic, right? And then in Mirror Mirror, I don't think that lady is any more racial than any of the other hot alien women. I mean, but who knows, right? Anyway, but by that same logic, I mean, if Kirk smooches a green Orion lady, then that's an interracial smooch, right? I don't think so. But anyway, this has been kind of a heavy episode, hasn't it? So, watch some I Love Lucy to get all this heavy subject matter out of your head. I didn't even know this episode was going to be this heavy. It's as heavy as those 4 boxes over there filled with labels that say cremated remains on them. Anywho, I'm Nicholas R. Cicada, and this has been a review of Star Trek, which is, oddly enough, a show I haven't covered much in my reviews, and I aim to do more so in the future. So thanks for watching, And if you liked it, I don't know what to do. I'll never be monetized anyway, so subscribe if you enjoyed it. And if you enjoyed it, you don't gotta subscribe, because I just make these videos for kicks. I don't make them for money. If you want to support me monetarily, write to Nicholas Cicada, 1424 Columbine Street, number 1, Denver, Colorado, 80206, and order some Nicholas comics. I'm a film reviewer. Yippee. Okay. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning, or whichever it is. I'm gonna go out and water the plants. Have a nice day.